Hello, my name is Dean Ramsden. I am a therapeutic energy healer, and this is episode 6 of my review and commentary of Hands of Light, a wonderful book on energy healing by Barbara and Brennan. And it's presented as not only a review, but also a way to draw you into some of the aspects of a therapeutic energy healing model, which Barbara created out of many different forms of healing that she was aware of, that she practiced. And in this video, we're looking specifically at how to see the auric bodies and some of the implications of that. So grab your copy of Hands of Light, either physical or you can download it from Amazon as an ebook, and let's dive right in. So Barbara Brennan's first book is an introduction, but also contains a lot of the fundamentals of how to begin to perceive the energy field in a very specific way. Now, she tends to take a very scientific approach, or pseudo-scientific approach, if you really want to be serious about it, and she draws from different aspects of her experience. The main hurdle, and I think this is part of the book, also part of having, because not only have I studied the book, I knew Barbara personally, as many of us did, but part of the hurdle is that we live in a very structured world, a so-called scientific world. And to look at energy, to look at auric energies, we have to accept and come eventually to actually experience a world of structured and flowing energies way beneath the visual perception of most human beings. Although there's a case to be made that actually modern day culture robs us of perceiving that particular reality, the reality of energy bodies, energy flows, what we've called in the past auras, auric phenomena, psychic phenomena. That being the case, most humans feel energies, feel these hidden energies, and most humans intuit energies flowing in certain ways, and especially attached to certain senses. So, for instance, in English, we may say something looks off. We may also say it doesn't sound right. It doesn't smell right. It smells fishy. And in English also we might say, this feels wrong. There's something wrong about this. I can feel it in my bones. Now, if English is not your first language and those particular phrases don't speak to you, I'm sure in your own language, the language you were raised in, you probably have similar statements that refer to the unseen. That which is unseen and yet still either having an impact on you or being visually, or one of the other senses, activating a sense of alarm, concern, or at least interest. Now, in another video we can dive deeper into the various senses that are activated, but in this video we're looking particularly at Barbara Brennan's emphasis on seeing the aura, which way back when she was teaching in the 80s, the 90s, the early zeros, this was a major focus of her teaching endeavors, to train healers to see. And the other senses were important, but that was a major push. And you'll see in Hands of Light and Light Emerging, her second book, that the visual perception is a big thing for her. But for now, let's bypass those other human senses. We'll hopefully come back to them in the future. So let's look at ways to see the auric body, a visual perception of others and of the world around us. We have a hyper-realistic retina screen 8K video world that we're living in now. Lots of emphasis on bright colors, on contrast, But the common way for psychic healers to see energy is far more organic. It's using relaxed eyes. It's using soft light. And let's look at these three basic methods for seeing, as in psychic seeing, psychic vision. So the first, obviously, is to look at something that's alive, something that has a presence in dim or low lighting. So early morning, early evening. I think the evening actually is a great place to start, because if you're using, for instance, a plant or your kitty cat or your doggy, everything's starting to calm down and get relaxed in preparation for sleeping, hopefully. So the auric phenomena connected to that plant or that animal or that person is easily seen, or far easier seen, in this kind of dim light situation. Now, in the physical world, also the best way to see the auric field is an outline. So a great place to start is to look for outlines. Look for a fuzziness, a presence around the person. We technically could call that the aura itself, actually, an aura of presence around something that has life force. The third way, internal mind screen. Now, this is a big piece in Barbara Brennan's work, and I had many conversations with her about it, because I was fascinated how she would translate what she saw on her inner mind screen, her inner vision, to something that was presentable as a teaching method, as a way to teach other healers how to do something similar. So we'll go into depth about what the mind screen is at some point, but for now, it's when you close your eyes and you use your imagination or you use your inner perception, what do you see? What is that image? Of course, it's probably going to be very culture specific. It's going to be based on your training and, of course, your expectations of what you want to see. More of that later. The problems with expectations. Now, the main focus to start is not only finding a subject to explore, but to look for outlines. Look for a shimmer. Look for something that is a starting place for you that allows you to let more information come in once you have relaxed your attention and you're seeing the outline, you're seeing the auric surrounding the person or the plant or whatever you're looking at. Once you have the outline, then you can engage the emotional content of the consciousness system. Once we have the visual fix, then we can let our feelings and also the feelings of the other flowing to us or from out of them to start informing and expanding your visual perception. So it's not like looking at a computer screen. Auric vision is not looking at a computer screen. Auric vision is relational. It is activated in you and interpreted in your inner vision circuits, if you like, in your inner consciousness, but also it's impacted by what the other person is outputting. And there is an output that in a therapeutic setting, which is, or it can be a business relationship or personal relationship, gets activated when emotions run high, when anger is elicited, when love is elicited. All the main emotions are or can be seen as auric phenomena, and we can go into that in future videos. So the content of the energy body needs to be engaged through the emotional body and processed in our consciousness system, which is, of course, unique to each of us. There's also the issue of thought forms. And I'm throwing this into this short video because we need to come back to the generation of thought forms and how that impacts the energy body, because not everything that you will see in the auric field is emanating from the person or being that you're looking at. You could be seeing the impact of a thought form projected onto them by someone else. So for those of us who are later on interested in astral healing, unbewitching people, taking away curses, things like that, often there is the impact of a thought form on a client, and we want to notice it and know what to do with it. But first we have to notice it as separate from the general consciousness of the individual. But let's get back to viewing of the basic auric field. We also want to look at not standardizing what we see, not conforming our vision to what we think we should see. And this is probably one of the hardest things to do, because none of us like to step outside of conforming to reality. We're told that if we do that, we're crazy, or we have something going wrong organically. So it takes a level of courage to step outside of what you think you should see or what you're allowed to see, and actually be impacted and get the information you need to help the client, or if you're doing this for personal evolution, to refine your relational connections or relational interactions with others. So Baba does provide some standardization, but within the context of understanding what it actually is. So her standardization would be the character structure energy fields, and we'll come to that later on in the series. But I want to stress that should be her standardization of a schizoid character structure, an oral character structure, and so on. It's just a starting place. Within that, you often find a lot of blending, a lot of bit of this and a bit of that. No one is a pure character structure. No one is a pure or simple energy field. What changes it is emotion, relationship, and of course the intention and the focus of the person. The next piece of information, just to throw in here to get the thought processes going. The secondary level of auric field perception is that to learn how to accurately perceive and interpret from a therapeutic point of view, which is using this kind of work to help others, does take a degree of training, does require a certain amount of feedback. Because if we don't have feedback, if we don't have a training process, we could be making mistakes, and then those mistakes never get addressed. Or there could be an easier way of doing something, of seeing something that the teacher can pass on to you. So level one also always is reading a book, listening to videos like this to get a sense of what's involved. But then find someone, a group or a teacher, find someone to help walk you through and give you support in refining your auric vision and making it useful. Because we don't simply want to add auric vision to our defense system, and start accusing people of things that we see that they're not aware of. It's not supposed to be used like that. So transmission. And I found this in my own training to be a really important aspect of learning how to see in terms of auric vision. I would go to one teacher and see very similar to the way she would see. I would go to another teacher and see the energy field very similar to the way she saw it. Now, there was a transmission. There's as I said, learning it from someone very important. But then in the end, you have to kind of integrate and know what works for you. So if you can't afford to hire a teacher, if you can't afford to go to a training group, grab some friends who are interested in the same material and form a home study group. Do it for free with 2 or 3 other people. I did that with many groups in my earlier study days. Find people that are interested in the same material, find a book to study it together, do the exercises together, and that's a great way to actually get the reinforcement and get the practice without paying. Although if you do pay for your healing teacher, I'm sure he or she will be appreciative and also add extra value to that. Now, Light Emerging is Barbara's second book, and it can be seen as a companion volume and advanced study guide to this material that we're looking at in Hands of Light. And if you've read Hands of Light and Light Emerging in the past, perhaps this is an opportunity to revisit that material, revisit the material in using fresh eyes, using your existing life experience to refine what you saw. But we'll quickly jump into some practical options here, and also define some of the terms Barbara uses that might help you kind of get clear on a good way to go forward with how to see aurically. So let's go to exercise 1, page 37 in Hands of Light. And Barbara writes about auric vision in nature settings. So she writes about her experience going into nature and just letting the organic flow of the natural world impact her and open up her senses. She also talks about her auric vision indoors using a houseplant, and this is, of course, is a great way. Houseplants don't want to move, obviously, but you can put your hands over the leaves, you can relate to them, you can talk to them, and be careful though, because they start talking back once they realize you're interested in them. So work with a houseplant, work with a way to get some daily or every few weeks interaction with a living being. And know that your astral vision, your auric vision will expand, will grow the more you use it. It's like a muscle. It's like going to the gym. We get stronger, we get more toned if we work out on a regular basis. So again, auric vision requires regularity. And finally, you can also work with an inanimate object, such as minerals. Quartz is great, but also basic minerals can be interacted with, but they're just a little bit, unless they've been owned by someone and loved, they don't have much emotional energy. So, and just an addendum, I don't recommend initially starting out with an object that someone's owned, that you haven't owned, that someone else owned, because that like a watch from your grandfather or whatever, because that there will be a psychic impact of the person's energy on that. So start simple and work your way up. Now, before we finish, we do need to address a definition that Barbara makes. It's a very useful one. She describes the human energy field as the manifestation of universal energy that is intimately involved with human life. So she writes it can be described as a luminous body that surrounds and interpenetrates the physical body, emits its own characteristic radiation, and is usually called the aura, unquote. So from that point, up to chapter 7, inanimate objects are seen as aspects more of the universal energy field. So we can shorten that to UEF, universal energy field. Human beings are referred to as having a HEF, a human energy field. Very important distinction, especially as later in this book, Barbara goes on to introduce core energetics, the Neo-Reichian body-centered psychology model, and how the auric field gets distorted from our development from infancy onwards, and those distortions show up as character structures. And those character structures have auric definition. They have a certain way they look, as well as a certain physical way they look. So, in other words, Barbara upgraded the commonly used word aura to HEF, or human energy field, and basically what she's mean by that is auric body distortions of psycho-emotional energy bodies. Now, feeling the auric energy in your physical and energy hands is also a good addition to this search for auric vision. Chapter 7, very important exercises that describe how to move energy between your hands, feel the articulation in your fingers. So I won't go through each exercise. Obviously, it would be very tedious. You can pick that up and practice yourself. Cultivate what you see with what you feel. What is visually coming to you, either in the outside world or the inner world, along with what you feel in your physical fingers, and eventually, as you develop them, your energy fingers. Plants and trees also can be your practice partners. Take a walk again in nature and find a living being that wants to talk to you, and feel, see, get a sense of the energy output, the energy expression of a tree, of a bush, of something that's alive and that is willing to listen to you. So I think we'll stop there at this point, and I do encourage you to not just listen out of curiosity, but to try this out for yourself, to look at opening your auric vision as a way to enhance not just your senses. And Barbara talks about high sense perception. That in itself is worth doing, because if you expand your senses, you get more accurate information about the world, about relationships, about options that you have within the world. You're building a foundation for future energy healing practices that we'll talk about in this on this channel at least. And you're also doing a cleansing process when you enhance your visual or tactile high senses. You're actually cleansing, you're actually doing some lifting, like at the gym, to get ready for the next level. So that's it for now. I hope this has been helpful. Thanks for listening. And if you want to see more videos like this, please subscribe. Please hit the like button, so that just gives me encouragement, because this is not monetized. I make no money doing these videos, so it just encourages me to make more. Have a great day or evening, and see you next time. Bye for now.